Welcome to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show. I am Mike McGivern. Thank you so much for joining us. So it's hard to believe, but this is the last week of the regular season schedule. Tomorrow morning, the playoff brackets will be revealed. So all throughout the state tonight, there are teams playing their last game of the season, and a number of teams that already know they've qualified and are playing to get the best seed they can. And then there are a number of teams that are basically playing a playoff game a week early. Win and get into the playoffs. Lose, cross your fingers that you might get in. And our game tonight is one of those. Oconomowoc at Pewaukee. Oconomowoc's in. They're 7-1 overall, 5-1 in the Classic 8. Pewaukee, on the other hand, is 4-4 overall and 3-3 in conference. To guarantee they get in the playoffs, they have to beat a really good Oconomowoc team at home tonight. Important game for both teams. So let's break down the Pirates from Pewaukee. First here in the Classic 8. They came into tonight's matchup with a record of 4-4 overall and are riding a 3-game winning streak. We are now joined by the head football coach at Pewaukee High School. He's Justin Friske. Hey, Coach, how you been?
Good. It's been quite a year.
It has been quite a year. So you found out last year that you guys were being moved from the conference that you were in over to Classic 8. And Coach, I know that you guys have fought like crazy and trying to qualify for the playoffs. I can't imagine it was something that you guys had raised your hand, both hands saying, hey, take us, take us. And I'm not quite sure if you were happy with it, but you got to really love how hard this team and this group of boys have fought to get to the position that they're in right now.
Without a doubt. We did not ask for conference realignment, nor did we petition to be changed into or out of any leagues. We were basically told that this is what was going to happen. So once that process was complete and we knew that we were going to be in the Classic 8, the only thing that we could do was try to get ready to play as well as we could against, in my opinion, the most challenging schedule the school has ever seen, and certainly an abnormally challenging Division III schedule, considering that we played now with the game coming up Friday, 10 teams in Division I, and then also a really good Port Washington team that's currently ranked in the top 10 in Division III. So our season has been really challenging. Our kids have responded. They've met every challenge head on. They never flinched, and I'm really proud of the fact that we're in a position to win a football game and qualify automatically for the playoffs on Friday night if we can get it done.
You know, we had talked earlier, and I said, look, this is like a playoff game early for you. And you said, I got to be honest, the whole season has kind of been like that. And, you know, you guys dropped a few in the beginning. And to win 3 in a row here, Coach, and put yourself in a position to win and get in, and if not, then you got to keep your fingers crossed. There's still a chance you'll get in, but you close the door on this thing. If you get this win on Friday against Oconomowoc, you're in the playoffs. And I'm not sure, Coach, if I'm a Division III team that sees you in the playoffs, I want any part of that because of, you know, the schedule you guys have played, and it's been pretty incredible. The guys like me from the outside watching this team progress. And I think we always, as coaches, want our teams to be playing the best at the end of the year, and I think that's happening right now for Pewaukee.
I agree. Our kids have really stepped up. We've made it a point this year to really focus on how we play the game and not allow the results to dictate how we feel about our performance. I mean, clearly we want to win football games. There's not any question about that, but knowing the challenges that were presented with the teams that we're playing, a lot of it has to come down to how are we winning small battles within the game, and how are we building to be able to have a scoreboard that reflects a quality effort that comes out in a victory for us. And, you know, we've been really fortunate that our kids have been resilient. We've lost some tough games and we've gotten beaten by some very good teams, but we've also battled like crazy in those games. And then we've learned some lessons along the way. And even though the teams that we've beaten in our league are below us in the standings, I have to say, like, these are really good football teams. Right. The Classic 8, there's not an off week. And it sounds trite, but the reality of it is, having coached now in this area for going on 2 decades, the bottom of the Classic 8 is as good as the top of many conferences in this area. And so even though the records may not reflect it, teams like Waukesha West and Kettle Moraine are really, really quality programs. And we're very, very proud of the effort that we put forth and the victories that we've been able to get against those teams.
Hey, Coach, when this happens, you know, as coaches, sometimes there are times that we can look ahead, right? Work ahead. We don't tell our players that, but there are times on the schedule that we feel pretty confident, all right, we're going to win this one Friday, but that next week is a much more difficult matchup, and we start putting some drills in, you know, 2 weeks before. In this conference, you can't do any of that.
No, absolutely not. We're trying to get ready to play every Friday, and we have to prepare like every Friday is the Super Bowl for us. And I'm hopeful in some ways that we presented that same challenge for some of the programs in the league that we're going up against. You know, as the little guy in the conference, it's probably easy for other teams to, I guess, overlook us or consider us maybe not to be quite as good. I'm just hopeful that we played well enough that the other teams respect what we've done and consider us a worthy opponent.
Hey, Coach, let's talk about a couple of players that are going to jump off the field when you watch this game coming up in a few minutes. Jackson Services, he was the Defensive Player of the Year last year in the conference you were in as a junior. And, boy, defensively, he does a lot for your team. He also runs the ball a little bit, but I think we want to talk a little bit about him on the defensive side because, man, he definitely is in the right position. I've watched some video on him. He's always around the ball. He rallies to the ball. He's kind of the guy in that defensive end that makes you guys go.
Yeah, he is the straw that stirs the drink defensively for us, and he's a guy that played at a high level for us for 3 years. He's a big hitter. He's a physical player, comes downhill. He's a run stuffer, and you know, this league has actually been really good for him because of the physical way that the ball is run between the tackles. And you know, he's a guy we count on to make big plays. He's been a catalyst for us defensively. And he's a guy that's going to have to play really well Friday for us to have a chance.
Yeah, 100%. Your quarterback, Owen Doberstein, there's been a Doberstein playing football and baseball at Pewaukee for a long time. And him and his cousin Drew, I want to talk a little bit about Owen as your quarterback. He's progressed this year, and for sure in the last half of the year, he's really played well.
Yeah, Owen's a 3-year starter for us. And as a sophomore, we were blessed. We had a ton of offensive weapons, and that was a great way for him to kind of get acclimated to the varsity level. You know, last year, not as many weapons, had some ups and downs. And then this year, we changed our offensive system a bit. And so we put a lot of pressure on Owen to do some things that he hadn't done previously. So, you know, in the early part of the season, I think we're working out some kinks and we're trying to figure some things out, just how we want the offense to work. Owen is stuck with it. He's always a great leader. He's a vocal leader. He's passionate. And you know, as we've seen in the second half of the year, we've started to utilize him a little bit more in the run game. He continues to throw the ball well for us. And he's certainly a guy that has to play well for us to win, but also a guy that has really elevated his game as the end of his senior season is coming to an end.
Hey, really quickly before we get to a break, Owen Sherrington is a kid that he's a running back, linebacker, but offensively, he causes a lot of problems for opposing defenses.
Omar's another kid who, as a starter, first-timer at the beginning of the year, I think getting varsity football was a bit of an adjustment. But last half of the year, he's really come on, a couple of 100-yard gains. He had a huge run against KM on Friday that was kind of catapulted us to a lead. And he too is coming into his own, and has really been a pleasure to watch him develop as the years go on.
Yeah, you said great things about Omar, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in person. Coach, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I most appreciate your nominating our Current Electric Behind-the-Scenes Superhero of the Week. You gave me about 4 different options, and people are going to want to stick around to watch that. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we'll be joined by Sal Logie from Oconomowoc High School. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show only on My 24.